Welcome to Bridge Talk. My name is Matt Dorgan. I'm the founder and president for Building Bridges for Brianna, and we're here at Freelance York just to have open conversations and continue our series on mental health. We need to try to help the community understand that it's okay not to be okay. We just can't stay that way. And today we have Jamie with us from NAMI, so I appreciate you coming out today.
Thanks for having me.
We just continue that conversation. So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and how mental health has kind of impacted you and why you're so passionate about what you do?
Sure. I'm Jamie Latshaw. I'm the advocacy representative for NAMI York Adams. I began volunteering with NAMI in 2020 and became a board member this year. My story really goes back a lot farther, though. I was a senior in high school and I lost my dad to suicide.
I'm sorry.
Thank you. My younger sister and I were suicide survivors at the ages of 15 and 17.
That's got to be rough.
It is. It's very
difficult. At that
difficult.
age.
I actually had my dad's death, my senior prom, my dad's funeral, my high school graduation, all within 30 days.
Oh, wow.
So that's a lot to go through for anyone in such a short amount of time, let alone someone who's so young.
Absolutely.
So I pretty much went about my life. I didn't have the resources then. Maybe they were available, maybe they weren't. And so I did all the things that was kind of expected of someone at that age. I spent that summer having fun with friends. I started school in the fall. I, got my degree, started a career, met my husband, house, kids, the whole thing that you would expect from someone.
Right.
And I just tried to forget about it. I never wanted to talk about it.
Kind of bury it away and didn't really happen.
No, it's always there. And, I would just kind of talk to my sister, email my sister generally on my dad's birthday or on the day of his passing. And we just kind of checked in with each other and said, "Are you okay?" And that was pretty much all we did. And we just forgot about it until the next year.
Wow. I can relate to that at times, yes.
I'm sure. And so that I thought was working. In reality, it was not working. I had begun to think right about at the 20-year mark that I had wanted to do something. And I heard people talking about different ways that they would honor somebody, and they just didn't seem important enough or good enough for me. So I had an idea that I kind of ignored for a couple years, but finally in 2019 I went on Facebook and I shared my story, and then I shared some resources of places where people could get help, and I shared statistics about depression or substance abuse and about suicide.
Absolutely.
And it was very nerve-wracking and very scary, and I regretted it. But
putting yourself out there a little bit. Right.
Being very vulnerable.
But that's one of the things that, when I was going through with Brianna, is the resources. Not really understanding what's all there. Am I going to the right places? Is there something else that, I'm doing this, but is there something else to really help the people? And then it even took me a little bit after Brianna's passing, to find the resources for me to deal with for myself. And that's when, one of the first organizations I kind of partnered with after we formed Building Bridges was NAMI, and they provided me a whole bunch of resources and said, hey, go here, go there, this is out there. And I kind of think that's really important for our communities, get them all out there. Everybody has some sort of resource that's available. It's how do we all work together and get them all out there, because we do support groups that I don't care if NAMI shares them and partners with us. We're all working after the same thing.
I think it's truly a community effort, and we've seen this at our events, at your events. We see a lot of other advocates there. It's not us and them. It's truly all of us working together.
Exactly.
And I love that part of NAMI. I love being involved with NAMI for that reason. Absolutely.
And I've actually seen in the 2 years we've been around Building Bridges that all the groups really partner together. Well, I can't really say one, in our immediate area that if we're doing something, everybody's there.
Right.
If you guys are doing something, you guys, NAMI did the walk at UPMC. How many organizations were there?
Right, quite a few.
There was quite a few, and we all partnered together, and we all we're all friends, doing the same thing. It's, we're not working against each other. We're all working together.
Exactly.
What other resources do you think that we really need to share and kind of talk about?
I think just understanding, for me, I had a lot of misinformation and there were a lot of myths that I believed at the time to be facts. NAMI is great with their programming. It's free and you can get all the information you want or need. And it can be overall mental health. It can be specific to youth. I've found so much information through them and I'm thankful to be involved, as well as just reaching out to other resources in the area. There are so many things in the community that I found out about because of NAMI. Right. Even though they're not NAMI events or NAMI sponsored programs or education, it's still, it's another resource in the community. And I think that's what we need to share with people. Absolutely.
How have you seen things change in the last, couple of years since you've been with NAMI for mental health? Do you see it getting where we're breaking that stigma down a little bit, or is it still kind of nobody really wants to talk about it?
Right. I think when I first started in 2019, I was surprised when people came up to me. They would see me at a school event or just out in the community, and when they would mention what I had shared, I was very surprised because I thought, who told them? They didn't know that because it was such kind of like a secret. Mm-hmm. And really what that showed me was all of these people coming forward and saying, I've suffered too. I think it's great that you're speaking out. And the more that we do this, the more that we talk, the more that we share, I found a lot more people are willing to be open and willing to share. And I think we've come a long way in breaking that stigma and shame. And I think we still have a long way to go, but we have some other steps to take as well.
Absolutely. I know I was blown away our first year event that we did. We had 1,500, 2,000 people that showed up, and you couldn't go anywhere without people talking about mental health. And it was one of those things that before, granted with Brianna, we were all keeping it kind of secret. Like Brianna was dealing with stuff with kids at school that they were making fun of her. She was cutting, and if they would see that, they would just call her an attention getter. So I was kind of telling her, we don't need to talk about it. Don't let them know. That way they're not bullying you and that sort of stuff. Now, when you go to these events, people are just openly talking about it. And if they, I'll be at a table and I'll see somebody's arm, and you'll see the cut marks. Like, they're not ashamed. They want the help. And now we just need to get them that help. And even I spent hours after the first year event and even last year's event, just people messaging us, thank you, it gave me a platform to open up. And I've talked to some people there, and I know, NAMI, you guys had people at your table doing the exact same thing. We're just giving them that outlet to open up and ask for help.
And I think that's key, because I think part of it is now that we are starting to see the stigma reduce, particularly in our youth, I think the next step is making sure they have somewhere to go and making sure that they know what those resources are in our community where they can get help, because now they're to the point where they're talking about it and they want the help, but then we have to be able to give them a place and a resource to guide them.
Exactly, or just somebody extra to talk, as well, because we're not open all the time. We might be doing a meeting, or we're here doing podcasts. Nobody can reach out to us directly. Luckily, there has been a change this year on some numbers to call. Right. And I heard you're the Jedi Master. That knows a lot about the new 988 numbers for people to reach out to.
Right.
What can you tell us about it?
988 was designated in July of this year as the 3-digit, easy-to-remember number to call to get the suicide hotline. It's managed by SAMHSA, and right now in our community, when you make a phone call, it is answered by a local call center to provide you with resources to sit and listen on the phone. If our call center is not available, it goes to one of two other call centers in our area. The important thing to remember about 988 is in most cases, somebody is not going to show up at your door. When you call 911, fire, ambulance, police may or may not show up. The purpose of 988 is giving somebody a place to talk, to have somebody who's trained at the other end, to listen, to answer your questions, but then also, more importantly, to provide resources.
Right.
And when it first came out, SAMHSA estimated that up to 90% of those calls could be resolved without escalating, without getting somebody else involved. And I think that's really key.
That is.
But just speaking from the advocacy side of things, 988 is not the final solution and it's not the answer. It truly is the first step. And what we need to have are mobile crisis units and crisis stabilization centers.
I agree.
And NAMI at the national level, at our state and even our local levels, are working on getting the whole system involved. And again, while it's different than 911, it's easy to make the analogy. If I call 911 and there's no fire station in my area, or there's no police in my area, or there's no ambulance, nobody's going to come. And
Absolutely.
so in order for those people to come, in order for us to have that help, we need that system there.
Right.
And it's what we're continually working on.
Absolutely. I mean, I know I've called the 988 just so I can give that firsthand experience of what actually happens, and they answered pretty much right away. And I just told them, hey, I need to learn more about what's going to happen when people call. And you pretty much hit it right on the head. I mean, they're going to give those resources that are available. And it definitely is different than 911. I know when it first rolled out, a lot of people said, if I'm in crisis, I'm going to end my life, call 988, you're going to get help. That's where that distinguishing factor needs to be. If it's something that urgent, you're going to end your life.
Right.
988's not the answer.
Right.
You need to call 911, ask for a CIT officer, get somebody that is trained there to your house. But if you just need that help, the resources, that's the 988. And I think it's great too, just having those three numbers. I know when I started this, I had to keep on looking up what that 1-800 number was. I could never remember it.
Yeah.
Now, hey, what do I call? 988. You can text them, call them, what have you. I mean, I think it's a great solution.
I think it is too. It is, and you're right, it's hard to remember those numbers in the best of circumstances, but when you're in a crisis or when you're seeing somebody around you in a crisis, who's going to remember that number? And it's the same, I would again use the analogy, I couldn't tell you the phone number of my local police department.
Right.
Because from the time I was probably in preschool up, we learned 911. So just seems like a very easy approach to say, let's give it three numbers, that way everybody can remember. But we still need to educate the public about when to call 911, when to call 988, and what to expect.
Exactly.
When you call either one.
There is that learning curve. It's new. It's going to take some time to work out the kinks.
Exactly.
That's what we need to do, and that's what we need the people that have used it, giving the feedback like they're doing, people that are running it, making the tweaks. It's going to get there. It's new. I mean, it's just a couple months.
Right, July 16th it was launched.
July 16th. 911, when that was rolled out, that didn't work.
No.
I mean, I've heard horror stories in communities where 911 was rolled out. It didn't work. I think 988 is at least a little bit better ahead of where 911 was, and eventually we're going to get there.
Right.
And
I think that's key too, and that was something that we've talked about and at the state level, is just having some patience and understanding that in the same situation, somebody that in this discussion said, when 911 was released, if you called and there was a problem, you just knew in your head or the number was on the side of your refrigerator, call the fire department directly.
Yep.
And so we just have to have that understanding and that patience as they are working on it to continue building the system that it needs to run appropriately and the best case for anybody who needs to use it.
Absolutely. Well, Jamie, I really appreciate you coming on today.
Thanks
and
again.
continuing our series, Bridge Talk, for talking about mental health. So once again, I'm Matt Dorgan. We will be continuing these series, Bridge Talk, as we move forward. And if you would like to be on, you can reach out to us through our Facebook page or through our website at BB4BPA.org, and hit the contact us, and then we can get you scheduled to come on and openly talk about mental health and let the community know it's okay not to be okay. We just can't stay that way. So thank you for watching. I appreciate it.